As Ron did say, my name is Billy Vanscoy. I'm the executive pastor here at Crossroads Community Church. I've been with Pastor Bobby for almost 20, almost 28 years now. Um, re, 3 years ago, I actually left my corporate position as an engineering manager and came on staff full time here. I've been leading a life, what we call them here at Crossroads Life Group. They're small groups, but I've been leading one in some form for almost the entirety of the 28 years. And so I have a lot of experience, a lot of examples, and I'm very happy to share my experiences. So I hope they can bless you all as well. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to see if I can share properly. And Ron, if you give me feedback if you're seeing just the content, because I can't see you all now.
Yep, I got nothing yet.
Still nothing?
Mm-mm.
Okay, hold on a second.
There we go.
All righty. I had to hit share. Okay, so can you see just the
We
big?
got it.
All right,
Developing group culture.
the developing group culture. Perfect. That's what I want you to see. Okay, so let me fix one thing here to get you all off my screen. Okay.
And just
All
an
right.
FYI, I'm sure everyone has made this adjustment on your screen of putting the view as in speaker view so that you're on the person speaking as the full view. Anyway, go ahead, Billy.
All right, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Again, I appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this year, again, to speak about another aspect of small groups. Last year, if you were at this training, you know that I described dealing with curveballs, and this time I'm talking about developing group culture. And I please know that I'm happy to give you a copy of this presentation or I'm more than welcome to answer any questions offline if you like. Just let me know or let Ron or someone who's on the team know that you want to have something. I realize that I can maybe you'll be drinking from a fire hose because I have a lot of information, but it's really good. And I want you just to be able to be blessed, to be able to receive it and enjoy. So many years ago, I remember being excited and a little anxious about going to a small group. For one, I knew many of the people, so I had high expectations. And I was, generally really excited. However, I came away disappointed. The plan sounded really good, I must admit. We were going to have dinner and then a Bible study for dessert, and then we were going to have a time of prayer at the end. And you would think, what could be better and possibly go wrong with this setup? And by the way, this is not the actual group, a little bit of AI for you all in the morning. Um, and although the food and the dinner fellowship was great, I mean, we had a great time talking and conversing with one another. By the time the teaching began, uh, people continued to eat rather than transition to the next step. And when that did occur, the teaching was primarily a lecture with handouts and fill in the blanks. Discussion was somewhat encouraged, but it was dominated by that one person, which then prevented anyone else from talking. And it only happened when they were prompted. And finally, to stay on track with the overall time of the evening, the prayer time was minimized. And again, that was dominated by a person or two. And honestly, I came away underwhelmed. And I admit that night was hard for me. My expectations were up here and it just came flat. And I could tell you that the group's culture was lacking, but the reality of it is it wasn't. The truth is the culture of that group was exactly the way it was established and maintained. The leader allowed the group's culture to function exactly in that manner. And what I noticed over time was that group, it never grew, it never multiplied, it really never expanded, and it always hovered about that same level of people, even after new people showed up. It just settled there. And honestly, the culture prevented holistic growth of that group. So fast forward to 2025. Last year, I had the opportunity through the Global Leadership Summit to learn from this lady, Jenny Catron. She's an expert regarding group culture, and she's the author of this book that you see right there called Culture Matters. It is an excellent resource on this topic of culture in any group. And that group could be defined as your household. It could be defined as your small group, your church, your business, whatever. The details in this book are dramatically insightful and very helpful. So as a side note, because of the GLS, I would recommend that each of you sign up for this year's conference in August. The group of speakers that they have coming lined up again this year is fantastic. So if you're interested, look at the website that's down at the bottom of this bottom right of the screen and go see where you can find a satellite location where you can attend. All right. So let me get back to today. A little commercial there. Jenny defines culture as who we are and how we work together to achieve our mission. And she writes that culture serves as the essential link between a group's purpose and its strategy. It's either created by design or it's created by default. And if a leader is not intentional setting the culture, culture will form passively, often in ways that are counterproductive. And she views culture as a stewardship of people in pursuit of a mission. And finally, she argues that culture is built on what leaders allow, what they excuse, and they repeat rather than just what they say. So, in my original example of the group that I went to, the leader allowed the group to operate in that manner, which became and was the group's culture. It happened by default. And listen, I know that these statements that you see on the screen, they may sound somewhat technical, and perhaps they're not related to your group. But culture is a dynamic living system, and it's shaped by every action and decision you as the leader makes. So every day, your culture is either being built up or it's eroding and it needs nurturing. So if you want to have a good culture within your group, you as the leader must be willing to be flexible and not static. All right? So we now understand that the group leader sets the culture of the small group. And you may say, well, why is that? Why can't the whole group define the culture? Why can't we all just be one collective happy thing and set the culture? Well, the answer is the leader needs to have a passion about the people, the content, and the overall gathering. See, if you don't believe in the mission and the content of your group, why would you expect anyone else to feel any different and like to come to whatever you're doing? So, for example, believe it or not, I'm not the guy to lead a group of people who crochet for Jesus every Saturday morning. It's not that I'm against doing it for Jesus or even crocheting in general. I'm certain Jesus would absolutely have a great time and love being the center of that group. But it's just not my passion, and if I led that group, the culture of that group would clearly show a lack of engagement. And ultimately, that group would fail, at least under my leadership. Now, note that I am not saying the topic itself for this group is wrong or would fail. I am certain there is someone who has the passion for crocheting could make that group look just as happy and fulfilled as the people you see on the screen. But it's just not me. On the other hand, I have a passion for the recovery community, and I love telling them who and what the true higher power is. I'll be with them every week, explaining how the love of Jesus works in their lives, how the Bible stories currently and directly apply to their lives. And I'll also remind them that they have a destiny. And that destiny is not simply for them just to stay clean or end up in a body bag. And perhaps that last statement about the body bag may seem raw to you who are listening, but to the men in my group, man, wording like that is part of their culture. They get it and they embrace it. These men will know that they are loved and someone from outside their circle of friends within the recovery community loves them as well. The culture in this group is effective. It is powerful. It allows transformation and it is fueled by my passion. All right. I hope you could see an example of the differences between having passion and not having passion for a group. And I hope you can understand how it can influence the culture as the leader who sets it. Having a passion will make all the difference for you as a leader when it comes to the hard days, when you don't feel like having the meeting, when things get complicated, or you feel like the group's in a rut. But aside from describing your passion and defining your passion, the leader also needs to be setting the culture of the small group by describing two things. The first is who you are. This is the small group's purpose, why it exists, and what are the qualities that set it apart from other small groups within your church. It's not about trying to make yours be better than another group. No, this is not a competition. It is, however, the what that makes your group different and why people should join it. The second thing is how you work together. This point focuses on the behaviors, the expectations, and how people interact. It's the what you do, where does it happen, and how things get done. See, as a leader, you should have a general idea of how the meeting is going to unfold, what people should expect, and how it will take place. Even even positioning the meeting when things get a little strange or out of hand. That's what you need to do as leader, knowing how everything is going to work together. But there's another valuable point that I want you as a life group or as a small group leader to understand for good culture. I mean, it's called the three levels of bonding. It goes hand in hand with cultural dynamics. And this includes the social aspect of the group, the study time within the group, and the prayer time that group participates in. See, a person bonds together with others during the social and the study time. Think about your own interactions with people in these settings. You go out for dinner, you might be at a basketball game, you are having lunch or coffee with someone. It's through these times that you superficially become closer. You learn more about each other, and overall bonding occurs. And essentially, a level of friendship and during these times form. Camaraderie becomes apparent. But on the other hand, a person binds in concert with others when you pray together. In this component, you're inviting God into the mix, and relationships between the people move to a much deeper level. and all aspects of culture deep in here. I have personally witnessed what I would describe a ho-hum kind of evening take place during the first two elements, and then suddenly the meeting turns exceptional when the prayer time occurs. When you invite God into it, amazing things happen. And because of that particular point, I would recommend that all groups have a focused time on prayer and do not let it get shortchanged. All right, as I begin to discuss how to develop a culture connecting people to the ones you're trying to reach, let me show you an example from outside the church. Bet you none of you thought I'd use this today. But in 1991, one of the most successful sport marketing promotions launched, and it was Be Like Mike. This campaign encouraged viewers to pursue excellence, work hard, and of course, be like Mike and drink Gatorade. Everyone wanted to be like Mike. I wanted to be like Mike. You know, why? Why? Well, aside from looking happy, playful, and being the best basketball player on the planet, this campaign hit three main themes, which everyone could identify with. To dream big, visualize your success and aim for the top. To work hard, put in the effort to be the best in your field. And of course, stay hydrated and use Gatorade as part of your active lifestyle. Now, admittedly, I tended to focus on two of the three. Gatorade just was not my drink of choice. My heart belonged to Mountain Dew. But the commercial inspired me to do something positive with myself. And although it was rather self-centered goal that the commercial had to be like Mike, I became part of this group of people who were all doing the same thing. So let's now compare this modern day campaign to a much earlier marketing campaign written by a guy from 55 AD. His name was Paul. And he says, though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I am myself not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I became weak to win the weak. I have become all things to all people so that by all possible means I might save some. The Apostle Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 9, verses 19 through 22, that his overall mission for Christ was to win people by becoming all things to all people. Likewise, as a group leader, you have that same opportunity to be pastoral, to be a counselor, to be a confidant, to be a variety of things. The list goes on. I implore you, do whatever it takes to develop a culture that connects to the people you are trying to reach. And as a small group leader, you are likely in the best possible place to minister to people, as you have the opportunity to influence and impact the culture as their small group leader. In fact, what we say here is, as a small group leader, you will be primarily pastored by your small group leader rather than Pastor Bobby, Pastor Billy, Pastor Nick, and so on. But some of you, or some group leaders might say, well, how can I improve my current group's culture if things seem, well, kind of dull, or maybe it's kind of the same old stuff? Remember what I said at the very beginning that if you want to have a good culture within your group, you must be willing to be flexible and not static. Well, here are some practical ways and personal examples of how to be like Paul and do whatever it takes by allowing your creativity to come into play. The first is don't center on a single location, but move to other areas. For example, if you meet at the church, meet at a house, meet at a coffee shop, meet at a library, perhaps even meet at somebody's workplace if you can. As an example, my teenage daughter has a group that meets at the public library. Now, many people walk by these glass walled rooms and they see what's going on. And this group of girls notice other curious teen girls look in, especially ones that they know, they'll invite them to join. So take advantage of new places. For just like having a new person join, a different location can bring in new opportunities and mindsets, which is going to inspire your culture. The second thing is meet outside of the regular group meetings. You know, you don't just meet these people one time a week. Act like you're friends and not just group acquaintances. Have fun. Go to a ball game. Go ice skating. Maybe get pizza and meet at the park. Have fun outside of the normal group's time. It doesn't have to be everybody, but you're just investing in their lives. But I do want to say one point of caution regarding this point. This idea is great, and it definitely bonds people together, as I've mentioned already. But as the leader, you must be aware of developing the us for and no more mentality. That mindset will alienate your group from ever growing because others who happen to see your group could feel that your group is closed to others and they can never break that wall or that barrier of getting in. So I'm speaking to you from about this from actually personally falling into that trap. Very early on, I inadvertently created the us for and no more mentality. And at the time, I didn't think I had it, but I did. Hindsight's wonderful, but I'm just telling you, be careful. Number three, as a group, serve somewhere together. Maybe go to a soup kitchen as a group project. Serve there. Habitat for Humanity. Why not? Maybe there's a homeless shelter you all can volunteer with, or even do a blood drive at the Red Cross. Yeah, why not? Go and donate blood. Donating helps others, and nobody's afraid of needles anymore. All right, number four, explore and encourage the group to exercise their spiritual gifts during the normal meetings. Because if you don't feel safe exercising the spiritual gifts during your small group time, why in the world would you expect people to do it outside in the world? Remember, your prayers are powerful and effective. So in the group that I'm in, a recovery group that I lead, I we had a very large man, large and tall, and he had a checkered past. Very checkered. And he was also extremely skeptical of God because of all the things that have happened in his past. But he one night received a prophetic word. And near the very beginning of this time, God told me to call him Teddy Bear. But that unlocked him, just totally broke him. Afterwards, he confessed that nobody, and I mean nobody, called him that since he was 5 years old. And you would have been afraid at this point of his life to just call him that. Not a person in that room could have known that, especially me. And he announced to everyone in the room that this is real. God is real. And it transformed his life. See, it didn't take preaching, it didn't take worship, or even the Bible study that we had that night to make a difference in his life. It was simply a prophetic word that was given to him, and it convinced him that God is real and that God loves him. So don't be afraid to exercise spiritual gifts. The fifth thing is switch your times to accommodate people, like different shift workers. If you meet in the morning, try meeting in the evening. Shake it up a little bit. And like I said in the first one, don't center on a single location. But when you change your times, you might allow other people to join, which will then help impact the culture as well. Number six, I can't stress this one enough. Check the Bible version that you use. This will affect your culture. It may seem strange, but know your audience, the people in your group. Nobody speaks the King James English anymore. Nor, if others in your group don't have the amplified version, please don't be pretentious and read from it. So I've personally experienced this in my group as well. One older gentleman has a King James Version Bible, and as he reads stuff to the rest of the group, the other young men, some even teens, they look around at each other staring as if they don't have a clue what he's saying. I'm serious. So know the Bible version that you use. You want to communicate to them. Remember, all things to all people. And the last is maybe meet other every other week to relieve any busyness pressure from the members. Look, we all know that certain times get busy, like holiday times, schools letting out, vacation times, things like that. Vary your meeting times and perhaps dates to help people from seasonal pressures that you have. Now, these 7 items are simple ways you, as the group leader, can positively influence your culture. And ultimately, as a small group leader, you have the ability to define and shape your group's culture. As a caution, if you simply allow your culture to be defined for you, then you may just find yourself leading a group that you're not passionate about. Now, on the other hand, if you define and cultivate the culture, the passion for your group will only increase and becomes contagious within the members. So remember, as I wrap all this up, as a small group leader, you define the group's culture. The group is a living system, and based on your passion, define who you are and how you work together to make the culture fruitful. An important element in your group's blueprint is understanding the 3 levels of bonding. Don't shortchange any of those levels, and especially the time of prayer. Um, Develop your culture so that you connect to the people you are trying to reach. Be flexible, be creative, and think outside the box if necessary. And finally, as an extra point I haven't mentioned anywhere else in this presentation, enjoy, enjoy being a small group leader. My experience as one has shown that when people recognize the passion and the joy within yourself, the group's culture becomes contagious and sustainable. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you letting me speak with you today. Thank you.